In today's cooking sketch, I'll be making a Spanish sweet potato soup, and we are gonna add some lovely mussels as well. We are gonna make a pain gratin on those mussels with some lovely breadcrumb and chorizo. To start off our Spanish sweet potato soup, we are preheating the oven to 200 degrees centigrade, and we have washed the sweet potato, and we have washed half a leek because we are not gonna peel the sweet potato. We are gonna leave the skin on. We are gonna chop the sweet potato in little cubes of around 1 centimeter. I'm using an orange sweet potato. We are putting the sweet potato into a bowl. And into the bowl we put some olive oil to coat the sweet potato. And we sprinkle on some salt. Next we cut up the leek in about, well, 1-inch pieces, about 1 or 2 centimeters. I've done the same with the leeks. They have been tossed in a little olive oil and some salt, and I've put them on a tray with some parchment paper together with the sweet potato. We are going to roast this off in the oven at a temperature of 200 degrees centigrade. The sweet potatoes will take about half an hour, and the leeks are ready after 20 minutes. I'm now gonna start with the pain gratin, or the gratin for the mussels. That will be getting a lovely crummy coat. I'm dicing about 1/4 of a chorizo sausage in very small dice because we are looking for a crumb. And then we are gonna render a little bit of fat out of them in a frying pan. We do not want to take the bits of chorizo too far because we will also be putting it under the grill. I'm using 1/4 of the chorizo sausage, and I'm using half of it to sprinkle onto the soup as a garnish. So in a dry saute pan we are going to roast our chorizo off. We're going to bake it off. We're going to let the fat render out a little bit, but as you can see, lots of fat comes out. We're going to catch that fat because, well, we can of course cook other parts of this dish with some of the fat of the chorizo. We also need some of the fat to make the panade is the French word for the gratin mixture of chorizo and breadcrumb, and the fat that I'm rendering out of the chorizo will bind it all together. Okay, enough fat has rendered out of the chorizo, so we are gonna put the chorizo into a chinoise. A chinoise is a pointy colander, a pointy sieve. I keep the fat in one bowl, and I put the chorizo crumbs in the next bowl. So I'm putting half of the chorizo crumb into this bowl, and then I'm adding some breadcrumbs I made myself from some stale bread, and then I'm adding a little of the chorizo oil. We are now binding or putting together the breadcrumbs with the chorizo and the olive oil. Okay, now it's time for our mussels. A little bit of the chorizo fat is going into a sauté pan. And in that sauté pan, we are going to sauté some, we call them mussel vegetables. It's basically a mirepoix. So onions, celery, leeks, and carrot. And we are going to sweat that off for a minute. And when the vegetables have sweated off for a little bit, we are going to add about 500 grams of mussels. And do not forget that lovely mussel liquor. And I'm adding a little bit of sherry to create some steam. We put a lid on top, and we're going to let the mussels steam open in about 5 minutes. And every now and again you want to give the mussels a little shake. All the mussels have opened, so we are going to take the mussels and put them into a plate or bowl, and we are going to save all that lovely juice because it has a lovely flavor of mussel, vegetables, and sherry. We are going to take one of the shells of the mussels off. So you want to take off the part of the shell to which the mussel is not attached. It's time to put on our panade of breadcrumbs and chorizo. You want to cover the mussel because it needs the protection of the panade. Against the heat of the grill. Okay, we are starting off our soup now. I'm frying up some onions until they get nicely soft and translucent. When the onion is all nice and translucent, we add some garlic. The exact amounts of my ingredients I'm using, you can of course find in the recipe. And then it's time to add the mirepoix, the celery and carrot. Okay, we want the carrots to turn all nice and soft. And of course, the smaller you cut up the carrot, the quicker it will cook. Along the way, we are gonna add a little bit of sherry. And now we're adding 1 teaspoon of smoked paprika. And next we're adding about 1/4 of a teaspoon of cayenne pepper. All the sherry has almost cooked out, so we are gonna add 3 leaves of sage. And well, if you got little leaves, just, you know, add these. But in total, 3 leaves of sage. It's time to add the roasted sweet potato and leeks. So we give it all a good stir. And when it's all combined well, we add 350 milliliters of fluids. And I'm saying fluids because I've used the mussel stock. I've used all the lovely juices that came out of those mussels. And I've put them together with some water until it makes 350 milliliters. We're going to bring that to the boil and we're going to let that simmer away for a few minutes. When all the ingredients are nicely cooked and soft, I'm adding about half a stock cube. I'm stirring it through, and then it's time to put the stick blender in. You can also put the soup in a blender, but I prefer using a stick blender. We are now going to blend the soup until it's all smooth. As you can see, the soup is turning in a bit of a puree, so we are going to add some more water. I'm adding again 350 milliliters of water. I'm now happy with the consistency of the soup. So I'm gonna put the lid back on and let it simmer through for a couple of more minutes whilst I fire up the grill to make the gratin mussels. We are gonna add about 1 teaspoon of sherry vinegar, and we are gonna let this simmer until our gratin mussels are done. And then it's time to plate our soup. Just throw in your crumbed mussels and sprinkle in some more chorizo crumb. I'm gonna enjoy this soup with a nice bottle of white Spanish wine, a dry Spanish white wine, and some toasted sourdough bread. Enjoy.